Hey, look who it is, everybody. It's Tom Green.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Yeah, back.
So let me see. You were here in our sports department from 1982 to 1995.
Right.
And then one day you said, I'm going to run across the street for a sandwich, and you just never came back. 22 years.
At the time, I was doing a game show for ESPN, and I started to do a radio show on The Fan with Doug Moe. And I was doing weekend sports here, and I was doing play-by-play and stuff for Fox at the time, or Prime Sports. I had a lot going on, and I decided that I would try the other stuff and left the day-to-day broadcasting.
So for folks who are 9 News devotees, who only watch 9 News, I'm sorry to tell you, but you missed a really, really fun morning show on Channel 2 for a lot of years. Where have you been? Tell folks who only watch 9 where you've been all these years.
Oh my goodness, I left in August of 1995. Again, worked with ESPN, did The Fan for 3 years with Doug Moe and Dan Issel. That was a blast. Got back into TV, did sports over Channel 7, and then for 15 plus years did the morning show at Channel 2, did Daybreak. It was great.
It was a great show. So starting Monday, you are co-anchoring 9 News at 4 and 5. They did make that clear to you. That is 4 and 5 p.m.
Right.
p.m. So other side.
My only demands is that we do the 4 first.
Yes, sure. Understood. The 4 and then the 5. You're reunited with Kim Christiansen, who is right where you left her 22 years ago. In all seriousness, though, I'm guessing it seems like everything has changed, but also seems like nothing has changed.
It's amazing to walk back into this building. The bulk of my time here was spent at the other building because this building went up in 95, and that was the last few months I was here. I think it was 95. But I was doing weekends for years with Kim, Kathy Sabin, and Ward Lucas, and we had a great time on Saturdays and Sundays. So it's great to see them again. To walk into the building is interesting. The building's the same, the building has changed, the people are the same, and the people have changed entirely. The whole thing has changed. It's been 22 years.
I skipped the existential question I like to start with, which is, why are you here?
Why am I here? I was approached after I left Daybreak. I was approached by several entities, but Channel 9 was by far the most aggressive, and for me, it definitely feels like coming home. I spent a lot of my career here. I mean, I really learned how to be a broadcaster here. I had worked before at a station in New Haven and at ESPN in its infancy, and then I'd worked for them again later. But I came back because it seemed like a natural place to be, a home-like feel for me.
So you've done sports, you've done news, you've done morning shows, which are an animal unto themselves. Where's your best fit? Do you have a fit anymore? What do you like to do most?
I thought when I stopped working and figured I'd start working again that I would decide between mornings and evenings, sports or news, and even radio or TV. And then after a while, I didn't really come to grips with those questions very well. So I decided instead of sorting them out, I would let them sort themselves out. So I think comfortable doing all of them, hopefully have some value doing all of them. And the 4 o'clock show with Kim, following Kubrick, that sounds great. That just sounds like a perfect fit for me, so I'm excited.
I found that following Mark Kubrick is actually not that fun at all, but you may have a different experience. I think that there are a lot of veteran journalists across the country who are pretty discouraged and pretty cynical about the state of the business these days. The door was open, you had packed your box, you'd walked out, you could have gone and done any other thing, but you decided to re-enter the world of journalism.
Yeah, well, you know this better than anyone. As bad as it may seem to some, it also seems to me and to others that it's more important than ever. So to me, I think it's something not necessarily for me to do, but to make sure is done, to make sure that it is something that people reflect on what it was and what it is and what it has to be. And so I think it's critical. I think it's more important than ever right now.
You know that there's going to be viewer feedback, and some of it is going to be great, and some of it is going to be ungreat.
I don't think so. I think
it's all going to be great. It's all going to be great. I'm very curious because we've known each other in passing over the years. And I've watched your work. I've always wondered, I wonder how Tom Green responds to viewer emails and tweets and Facebook messages. What is your thought process about that in this world where people expect to have a 24/7 conversation?
Well, the first thing is to embrace it, because I always found when I went from television to sports talk radio, the thing I liked about it was a discussion. You were getting feedback from listeners, and you knew what they were interested in, what they hated, what they liked, and not every caller represents listeners, but you pay attention. And nowadays with social media, more than ever, we used to sit at this desk and you'd do the news and you might get a couple of calls if you did something terrible, but the volume of viewer feedback was limited and late. It would come in 3 days later in a mail. So now people can reach out to you. How do you manage it? I guess, it's the best you can. I think if you, as you do and as I often do, use a little bit of humor on the air, they know that's your style. You can also deal with it with humor as you do with social media all the time, and make sure that what's serious is serious, but everything else, hey, lighten up, Francis. Let's go.
Last question for you. State of journalism today means that there's a lot of young people in the door. I've been here 10 years, and I think I'm still considered a young person around here, but there's a lot of younger people in the door, and what that means is that a lot of people are coming to town to report for the newspaper, for the TV stations, without a lot of local knowledge.
Right.
Whereas you're somebody who's been in town here now for 3 decades. What's the state of the city? What's the state of the state? There's so much change going on. There's so much friction.
Yeah.
What's your perspective on that?
Well, the city and the state, aren't always have been different animals. The city of Denver is different politically, different as far as demographics. I think because you travel enough, you realize that the city and the state have actually gone through what were tough economic times better than most cities and states did, and it gives everyone an opportunity. For me, I think some of the real issues we face are cost of living for people who want to be in the city, who want to find a place to live. It seems like it's so expensive now, and that's a real problem for people. And I don't know how you address that, because that's more private business than it is a public problem, but you see that people in the municipality trying to deal with it. The state, I'm curious to see where the state goes. We're going to be heading into a very interesting election cycle when Governor Hickenlooper moves on, and that's going to be quite a race.
Yeah, well, you will have a front seat right along with us. Tom Green, come back to do the 4 and 5 o'clock newscast on 9 News. Since 1995, the folks in charge here have said nobody touches desk. Nobody leave everything exactly where it is. So we're going to need to get you some new phone books.
Okay.
And a computer. But other than that,
the typewriter has to go.
Exactly. Everything else should be exactly as you left it. So welcome back.
Thanks, Kyle.
We're going to have a lot of fun.
Appreciate it.